Alright guys, another video to help out. I think there's still a few things that you just need to be aware of to help with the gameplay, now that we're getting a little bit further along and things are happening. So just wanted to spend some time on really three things. What are these controls over here on the left doing, and how do you use them? Because there's a lot of times you're saying, well, I can't click my character, and you can't do something, or you're throwing these weird things down on the screen. It's because you just have to have the right thing selected. I'm going to then also talk about spell and spell templates. I think there's still some confusion about that, how those work and what they do. Then I'm going to talk about some conditions that I've added to help hopefully some of the gameplay. And then finally equip, right? So how do you equip and unequip things? So let's get started. So I'm logged in as me, the test player. So this is a player view, and by default you have these controls over here. So to select your characters, and I've given myself two, right? I can click between these two characters and you can see that this changes based off of who I've got picked. The key is make sure that your basic control icon, which is the little unique or the ambiguous person on with the four corner square, that allows you to select your character and then you can move them. Right, and I'm just using the arrow keys to move them, or you can then drag and drop them where you need to go, or the whole, grab control. I'm going to measure 5 feet, click, 5 feet, click, 5 feet, then hit spacebar, right? The key is if you're saying, well, I can't see my character, I can't click him, and I can't see, the various, things in the HUD, it's probably because you've clicked into something else here. So always make sure, 90% of the time, just make sure that these two are selected in the upper left and you'll be fine. That's key when you start doing things like targeting. So if you want to target, right, and you click the little target symbol and you're going to target the bartender zombie back here, right, now you want to do something, well, you can still cast your inventory and your spells, but you say, well, I can't, well, you can still move. But if you try to do something else, right now, oh, wait a minute, I'm targeting him, or hey, I just targeted myself. Why am I targeting myself? Well, that's because, again, you've selected this. Now it's easy. Just once you've targeted him, just go back and click the select tokens icon, right? And now you're all set. And again, to target, you don't need to use that icon. You can just double right click, right? So I'm just using my mouse and I'm double right clicking on the zombie and moving the target, and then I never have to click this. And then to unselect it, you just double click on them again, or you can come here and just single click them. So again, if you're seeing weird things happening about why am I targeting myself, or why did I target him, it's because, again, you've probably got this targeting icon selected. The last one is the measure, right? So the measure just allows you to measure distances, right? You can use control, measure weird distances, but it doesn't really do anything other than just a measure tool, right? So if you want to just quickly say how far is something, you can use the measure tool. But again, if you try to go here, now you're going to be like, well, I'm measuring off my guy and I'm not hitting control. What's going on? Well, again, you've got the ruler selected, so now go back here, and now when you move, you can move your guy, no problem. And again, to measure, to move, just use control and, left click, and off you go, and then you can use your space bar. But the key message here is, if you're seeing weird things like a measure tool or weird shapes or anything, just make sure that these two are selected. I'm going to talk about the next one, and it correlates to spells. So this is dropping templates, right? So there's different, and they call it measurement controls, but it's really about showing you some different templates, right? You have a circle, you have a cone, a square, or a line. So in here, if I just pick here, I can start to draw a circle. And the way I did that is I just clicked and I'm holding down the left button on my mouse and pulling it, and it's allowing me to make a circle. And notice it tells you how big it is, right? I can do the same thing with a square. Let me go click and make a square, and I can make it, a rectangle. I can, invert it. I can drag it all over the place to get kind of what I want. Great, there's my square. Cone is the same thing. I can drag it and make it, right? And the difference here is as I'm holding down the left button after I place its origin, I can just move the mouse around to determine where it points. And again, it tells you how side. Oh, it's a 30-foot cone. Fantastic. There's the 30-foot cone. And then here's just a line. It's similar to the square, So I'm not really sure why there's two, but that's how it works, right? So it allows you to draw shapes on the thing. And this is what's used to cast spells. And, oops, I clicked square, not line. So here's your line. Notice now I clicked the wrong thing. And again, I'm holding down left, and now I've got this rectangle that's being dragged across the screen, and I can do this. So now that I've placed all these templates, great, now what? I want to get rid of them. So what you do is you just move your mouse over it, and notice you get a little orange glow around it. I didn't click it. You could click it if you want, it doesn't do anything, and then just use the delete key on the keyboard. So if you accidentally place something and it's like, well, why did that come up, and you want to get rid of it, that's how you get rid of it. Just move your mouse over it and click delete. And again, I'm trying to pick and move my character. Why can't I do that? Well, again, you're in the wrong thing. So let's go here. And now when you're in here, you can't click those templates, right? They're there. Notice that that little icon doesn't show up. So you have to go back to your template tool, click or highlight and delete. And I'll show you how that works when you start casting spells. The other one is, Scott's favorite is, let's go draw and be weird, right? So I can come in here and draw shapes. I can, add a square, right? These are just drawing tools, right? If you're just feeling weird and want to do something weird, you can add text and stuff like that. So we'll just get rid of these, but they work the same way. And I'll just select, and now I'll go here and select these and delete them. All right, so if you want to do that. No big deal. The other two we really don't use, so we'll skip those for now. But again, the key is this should be your default setting. The basic control with this four-corner square, that allows you to select your token and move them around and make sure you have the right action HUD, right? So Wiz, for you who's got, the bat, this allows you to change, between the bat and do the different things that the bat can do. Cool. Let me do one other thing before I jump into spells. Keyboard shortcuts. So page up, page down allow you to zoom in and zoom out. So I'm not using my mouse. Now I'm just using page up, zooms in, page down, zooms out. So if you want to see the map or see what's going on, you can use page up, page down. If you want to pan, right, you can do that with the mouse by right-clicking and holding, and you can pan the map. Or keyboard, hold Control, and you use the arrow keys, right? So now I'm panning this just using Control key and the arrow keys. Pat, since you're on a Mac, you want to use the Command key and then the arrow keys, and it'll do the same thing. So if you need to move the map around and the mouse, laptops might be hard, Control arrow or Command for Mac and arrow keys, and now you can move the map around. And again, page up, page down, let you scroll and scroll out. All right, let's talk about spells. So when you cast a spell, right, I'm just going to start with, Eldritch Blast, right? So if it's a simple spell, it's just going to come up, right? No template. If it's a cantrip, you just roll your attack, roll your damage. Fantastic. You blasted that zombie for 8. Cool. When you start casting anything that's not either a cantrip or a pack magic or something special, right? And you get into, casting a first level spell or things of that nature, right? It's going to do a couple of things. So let's start with Thunderwave. Okay, so I've cast some Thunderwave. So now this little dialog box shows up. It says, whoa, what am I doing here? Okay, so this is lets you configure what you're casting, right? As a spellcaster, you can cast spells at higher levels. Great, so I could cast this Thunderwave at 3rd level and do more damage. I can keep it at 1st level and use it, right? You always want to consume a spell slot, right? Unless I give you, something that says, hey, don't consume a spell slot. Maybe as you get higher level, you can cast things at will. Great, then you can uncheck it so you don't use up a spell slot. And then it says place measure template. So this is for any of your area of effect spells, right? So if I open up this character, go to my spell book, right, you can see, one creature, oh, this is a 15-foot cone, fantastic, a 20-foot sphere, a 60-foot wall, a 20-foot cylinder. Anything that's an area of effect is going to ask you to place a measure template, and you say yes, right? Just leave it checked, and then you click cast spell. Okay? Now, Here's Thunderwave. Thunderwave creates a 15-foot cube, right? So notice I'm not doing anything. I didn't click anything. This thing just appeared and I'm moving my mouse around. And I haven't found any keyboard shortcuts to move this, so just move your mouse around. And then when you position it, just left click and it'll position it. So since this starts centered on you, you can position it, there, you can position it here, etc. So once you click it, that template's now on the screen. Notice that little square, that little icon went away, and now I've got this square that's showing Thunderwave. Fantastic. I can delete it as a GM, but you also have control over deleting it. So again, if you want to get rid of that template after it does its thing, because this is just a one-shot, roll your damage. I roll a DC 15 saving throw. Fantastic. See if they take damage. But if you want to get rid of it, go back to the measurement controls. Now that little blast icon shows up, and as I hover over it, it turns orange. I click delete, it's off the screen. And then remember, go back to click on your base control and your select icon. So that's what that's doing, right? Let me do a little bit more advanced spell. Let me do Burning Hands. Burning Hands is a cone, right? So Burning Hands, when I cast this, it's a 15-foot cone. So here, when it originates from you, so I'll want to position this little blast thing, somewhere around you, like this, right? And then you use your scroll, the wheel on the mouse, and that lets you position the direction of the cone. It rotates it around an arc in a circle, right? So if I want to blast Krusk with this, fantastic, I can target it there. If I was going to get a zombie, assuming the zombie was standing right in front of me, right, I can start it here. And once I left click it, now that cone is on the screen, and anything that's in that 15-foot range does, 3d6 of fire. And again, to get rid of it, let's go to the measurement tools. I can hover over the blast and delete it. The key is when a measure template is placed from casting a spell, you just move your mouse around and it'll position it. And then some spells, you use your mouse wheel to position it. As an example, another one is Wall of Fire. Now, this is an interesting one because you have two choices when you cast a Wall of Fire. You can cast it as a 60-foot long wall, 20 feet high, or you can create a 20-foot radius circle. So we'll talk about this one in a second. So let's say when you get high enough level, you cast Wall of Fire, measure template. All right, so it's creating a 60-foot wall. And again, I use the mouse wheel, moving this around to get, let me just page down. So here I can zoom out using the page up and page down button, right? As I move this, it's going to position it on the screen, and I'm using the mouse wheel to determine its angle and arc, and I'm just going to throw it here, and now there's my Wall of Fire. So if you want to do something a little differently, right, let me get rid of this, and you say, hey, I'm going to cast Wall of Fire. Now I'm concentrating because Wall of Fire is a concentration spell, so I'm going to right click, come here and just turn off concentration for this. Fantastic. And let's say you say, I want to create that 20-foot circle when I cast Wall of Fire. Okay, so fine. So we'll come up here, we'll cast Wall of Fire. This time let's uncheck Place to Measure Template, and I'll show you what's going to happen. So now we're going to cast the spell. It's going to show up here. Now what you do is come over to our basic measurement tool, our measurement control. Let's grab a circle, and let's grab and create a 20-foot circle. All right, so now that I got this 20-foot circle, when this highlights, I can left click it and drag it. So now I can position this where I want it and say, great, I'm going to surround these two zombies with that Wall of Fire. Now it's not as fancy with all of the special effects, but it allows you to then have control of where you want to place this. And I can now, like I said, I can continue to drag and drop this as long as I'm in this view. So as we get into some of the more ones that give you options, we'll figure out the best way to do it, but that's how you kind of do it. And again, I'll hover it, delete it. I'll go back, again, click on the basic control, click on him. Now I've got him back. Fantastic. I'm going to turn off concentration for now. Come back and click on him, and fantastic. Thing about conditions as well is you can control them from the HUD. So if I were to cast another spell, I can just come up here and click concentration. I can come up here and click on concentration. So you can control your conditions as well from the token action HUD without having to right click on your token. All right, so burning hands, right? So you had burning, you had flaming sphere. So let's cast that because there were some issues with that. So let's cast flaming sphere, consume spell slot, yes. Let's make this a 5th level, so it's going to do some serious damage. Cast the spell, right? Notice that does 5d6 of fire now versus the standard 2d6 because I picked a higher spell slot, right? So now I've got this circle, I show it, I'm going to slap it right there. So, great. Next turn, we come through, your next round is a bonus action, you can move this. So how do I move this? All right, well again, go back to your measurement controls, highlight it, so you see how it kind of, the orange around the blast icon, and it kind of gives you that purple around it. Left click and hold, and now you can drag it and move it up to 60 feet, I think, or 30 feet, or whatever it is. So you can now move it around 30 feet. Right, so now I'm going to go move it over here, and I'm going to zap those 2 zombies and put it right there because anybody within 5 feet of a flaming sphere takes damage. Fantastic. So that's how you move the spell. But now the problem is, oh, well, hey, I'm going to go try to move my guy. Well, and notice it threw that template on it. Again, what are you going to do? Come up here, click on your basic control, your select, and now I can move him and do what I need to do. Cool. So hopefully you find that helpful around how spell casting is going to work. Let's click on you and turn off my concentrating condition. Conditions. I've added a couple of conditions. So this is targeted to anybody, mostly Rob as well. But let's say you've got your cleric in here and you cast Bless. Right, so I'm going to cast Bless. I've got a cleric sitting down here you don't see, and I'm going to bless both these characters. Fantastic. So I come up here to conditions, I click Bless. Notice you get this little icon that shows up. Great, I'm going to give it to Krusk as well. I click Bless. Now we've got this condition. So what that does is if I'm now going to swing my longsword, it adds the D4 automatically. So you don't have to go add it in additionally. And you can click on this and see, hey, it rolled the D4. I rolled 4. Great, I got all that extra bonus. Same thing if I run a save. I'm going to do a strength save. It added the D4 save bonus because I've been blessed. So nice easy way to just enable Bless, and I'll just go here and turn off those conditions. Bless, turn it off. Okay, for you, Rob, as a dual wielder, you get +1 to AC when you use 2 weapons. So I've added a condition that reflects that. So if you transfer between, using your bow or using 1 weapon or whatever, you can use conditions to enable that. So here's Krusk. Notice his armor class is 23. I'm going to come up to conditions and just turn on dual wielder. Need a better icon, but notice his armor class is now 24. So this is a way that I've enabled dual wielder to add your bonus to your AC automatically. And again, now let's say you go back to your bow, you get to turn off dual wielder, and now your AC is back to 23. Cool beans. The last thing to talk about real quick, and I know I talked about this in the last video, but just to remind you, is about ammo. So if you're using a ranged weapon, and I know you've got some magic crossbow bolts from 2 episodes ago, and you don't really know what their bonus is, and you want to start using them, simply go to your inventory, right? You'll see down here you'll have consumables, so you'll have your standard arrows, and he's got +3 arrows. What you do is you go to your weapon and you say, I'm just plugging away with my regular arrows, I don't want to waste those magic arrows. Fine, but if you decide to use them, we'll just come here, click on the edit item for your longbow. You can make this a little bit bigger by grabbing that, drag it up, click on details, and see down here where it says resource consumption ammunition, you can now change between it. So I don't want to waste my +3 arrows, I'm just going to go back to my standard arrows. Or hey, I'm going to use my magic arrow, so then I come here. And once you select it, you can just close this, easy peasy, close this, easy peasy. Now when you go and cast that longbow, ta-da, now notice it says, I rolled a d20, I got my modifier, my proficiency bonus, and now my ammo bonus to hit. The only thing I haven't been able to figure out is it doesn't add it to damage, and I've played with several things to try to add it to damage, so I'll just do that manually. But that's how you equip and unequip consumable ammunition. So that concludes this video. Hopefully you found it helpful as always. Looking forward to our next round, and we'll work through it together. But good hunting, and we'll talk soon. Take care, guys. Bye.